Hello and welcome to the Stream of Chaos. My name is Dave and I will be your keeper of arcane lore for this session of Call of Cthulhu. Today we are continuing chapter 4 of A Time to Harvest. All of the previous episodes are available over on the Chaosium YouTube, and if you're watching there you can join us live each week over on the Chaosium Twitch channel. I believe at the moment we are streaming at 5 p.m. Pacific. Thank you to Roll20 and Sirenscape for being great tools which we use to run our game. And as we jump back into this session, we'll also acknowledge that Alex won't be joining us for this one, so we will catch up with Jo and her actions over this day when she joins us next week. Clean, huh? All right.
Solid.
Yeah.
Loved it.
Like a gun.
I was enthralled from beginning to end.
I think the opening is the underrated part of the performance.
You had me at the beginning. Kind of lost me in the middle, but then I picked up towards the end.
I kept it tight too, which is a good thing. So there's no real.
I don't know why I bought my whole seat. I only needed the edge.
I hate all of you. I could do this whole stream by myself. There'd be 4 heads of me, and I'd do a great job of it.
We love you too, mate.
Wasted space on 2/3 of the screen. All right. So as we pick up, the 3 of you are driving in to Cobb's Corners. It's October 2nd. It's a Thursday for what it's worth, and it is a brisk, clear morning. It's early to be about 7 or so as you begin to drive down into town, and there's a couple of sort of light, fluffy clouds dotted above you in the very clean blue sky. Cobb's Corners, this very quaint, small little town with a number of sort of painted roofs and decorated for an upcoming harvest festival. Gourds scattered about and like straw men decorated in hand-me-down clothes, pointing to different stalls and things. Children rush about in the street and they're eating candy and things and running between their parents, and different games that they're playing chalked out on the ground. And you can see folks setting up stalls, which will be for the following days. As you drive into town and decide where you're going to park the car and begin your investigation, can I get each of you to introduce your investigators, and we'll begin with you, Art.
Hi, I'm Art, and I am playing Sebastian McCarthy, who I don't even know how to sum up Seb anymore. He's like charismatic, attractive young man who also just has an air of like, I'll fucking kill you, but also not. So, you know, I think that's kind of Seb is we're driving into town, probably looking out the window, kind of eyeing over all of the sort of setup for the Harvest Festival, and like eyes narrowing slightly because he spent a lot of time reading things that would break a lesser mind, but for him it is an academic interest currently, and is sort of mulling over the connection between the Migo and Shub Niggurath and what on earth this Harvest Festival could really be about.
I'd imagine you stand out amongst all the sort of like farmers in their plaid and everything in your sleek black suit and armored interior.
Yeah, Seb absolutely looks like someone who has come from a very swanky funeral. It does. I mean, like for a Harvest Festival, maybe it fits the vibe, but it's very, you know, it's very clean and yeah.
Love it. All right. Next, Jackson, would you like to introduce Chaz, please?
Hey, I'm Jackson, and this is my friend Chaz.
What's he look like?
Oh, he's kitted out in the finest military gear that an oil and gas company can offer. He is wielding his baton and you go for the sawn off? I think you might have gone for a sawn off. Yeah, I can't remember.
Joe had a sawn off. I think you have a holstered pistol, and you know there's a rifle and a shotgun and a couple of hand grenades hidden in the trunk.
Absolutely.
Of your vehicle.
He is packing with along with the long black classic military coat that will see him well in such a winter, which is, you know, stretching to capacity under his bulging seps.
Yeah. Is it a
for a second you were like, the winter is stretching to capacity. I'm like, what?
No, the coat is stretched to capacity because he's swole. He spent weeks getting buff with the captain, and now he's ready for action.
Have you mirrored any of the captain's stylings? Like, you found the new father, you got a
Oh,
similar
that's a good
haircut,
question.
or is it the same style as jacket as he wears?
Chaz now polishes his boots every day for the first time in his life
Yeah.
because he saw the captain doing it and decided that was cool.
Gleaming. They're gleaming. And finally, James, could you please introduce Katie?
Absolutely. I am playing Katie Wilkes, a timid bookworm with a knack for doing a lot of sneaky and stealthy and larcenistic kind of stuff. Katie is a mousy haired, little on the kind of lizard-esque side, I'd say, that she's short and a little jumpy, but in her new kit given by Oil and Chemicals, she has a much more determined focus. She's got a large satchel at her side, brimming with equipment, including her large binder, which she has been filling with notes from her journey, and she's glancing around at the various people of this strange town. Last time she was here, she was a little bit stabbed by a tree, so it's a bit tense.
Perfect. Are you armored, or armed, rather?
Yes, I am. I'm not heavily armed like my companions, but I am wearing the heady leather jacket equivalent. So I have one of these oil and chemical things that provides a single bonus die. I have a baton and I have a single pistol.
Perfect. Well, you're ready for whatever the day throws at you.
Exactly.
All right,
Katie
great.
is less armed than Chaz because Chaz lifts more.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what it always
Less
comes down
armed.
to.
Well, if I can jump right in, you might have another description you want to go right into,
Go for it,
Dave. But I was actually going to say, as we're coming into town, could I make a psychology check? I'd love to just be gazing around the people here, see if I can spot, one or two real creepy people, maybe standing with a pitchfork and a pumpkin, just leering at the car as it comes in. Do I get the vibe that this is, at least for most people, just a normal harvest festival? Is there anybody clearly standing out that has creepy written all over them?
So before you roll, you guys begin to drive over the bridge and into town. You're looking for a spot to park and just kind of taking a slow drive through the streets, getting a sense for it first. Then, as Katie looks out the window and tries to get a read on the occupants, you'll notice immediately as you cross the bridge that the Gazette, previously run by Richard Wendell, is shuttered and closed, no lights on inside, and even the polished brass placard on the front has been removed. You can still see the wood's a slightly different color where it hung previously.
Because he got out of town, right?
He bailed. How far he got is as yet unknown.
We know how far he got.
Well, he ended in the prison, right?
Yeah, with
That's where we
you.
left him.
Left him in
But what
prison
happened to him from there?
Yeah, afterwards, yeah.
to probably murder.
You can have a little.
Based on a track record.
From there, you'll roll past Kana's Goods, which seems to be doing a roaring trade. The doors are open, and in the inside, you can see people coming and going, buying supplies, and heading outside. And then around, that'll also leave the sheriff's office behind. And then you'll see the Jim's Grill, which has doors open again. And on the interior, you can see a lot of people gathering up for breakfast. On the inside, a couple of people have children, which they're trying to get fed quickly before school. And they're beginning to sort of be pushed out the doors to head down south towards the small schoolhouse up on the hill. Katie, go ahead and make a psychology roll. And I also want to know where you guys are planning on parking the car. And if Seb and Chaz, you're keeping an eye out for anything in particular.
My psychology roll is a success.
Nice.
And as we come in, I'd also like to suggest, I reckon my time's best spent at the library. That place, there's a lot of information that could be in it. I think that if there's any local stuff specific to this area, it's going to be in there. And something about that arcane filing system makes me think that it's so difficult because there's something there. I might be able to stay in there the whole day, which means we could park the car there. I'm unlikely to leave, and I'll probably be able to notice if anyone comes to tamper with it.
That seems reasonable.
The one other suggestion sorry, Chaz.
No, please go on.
Thank you. The one other suggestion I might make is, the Gazette. We don't know what happened to him, presumably something bad, but if he's in there still, he might be worth talking to. And if not, well, he struck me as the paranoid type. I think there's a pretty decent possibility that he had a ace buried under the floorboards or something. I mean, he took some, but I don't think he was planning to. I don't think he was planning to blow everything, so to speak. And there's always the chance he's got more compromise on other members of the town. For all we know, he'd uncovered blackmail or whatever that we could use to start turning public opinion against the Migo operatives here. That and the priest, those seems to be our leads.
I could start with a doctor if he's still in town. Well, he was willing to talk to me once. He may not be willing to talk to me again, but if anyone was going to actually... If anyone knew the truth of what happened to Wendell and was willing to talk about it, I would say he's probably someone that would at least tell us the truth as far as he knows, if he knows. I'm not sure if he does or not. The school teacher, Miss Holly something.
Rydell.
Lost it.
Rydell.
Wendell and Rydell, I was like, I'm pretty sure it's Rydell, but that's way too close. And I'm good. Yes. It has just come back to me. Rydell. She may be someone worth talking to. There was something that she showed me that the children were drawing, and I didn't really have much time to consider it, given the circumstances. I'm not sure about the Hellfire Priest. He could be someone who knows, or at least suspects, or at least is very anti what is happening, but he could also very well be someone who is very okay with what is happening. And
He just called him a Hellfire Priest. I
Yes.
mean, it's in the name, right? He's up to something.
I mean, he gave us shelter inside the church. We used it to keep safe. He spoke out publicly from what he said about his sermon, about what was going on. I think he's definitely up to something. And our last interaction with a priest didn't go so well. But it can't be all of them.
Perhaps not. Well, I mean, I spoke to the three of them the last time I was here. There's no good reason why on returning it would be odd for me to go and speak to them again, whether it be to clarify some nature of the story that we received last time from them or some such. If we are going to start with the basis that we're back here to clarify our investigation, rather than coming in hot with the we're here to clear our names, which I think is a good backup. It gives anyone with suspicion of what we're doing here something to hold on to as you're here for something else, without giving up what we're actually here for being something else again.
Well, what about me at the library? Said you doing a circuit of potential friendly faces. And then Chaz, I mean...
I got a sheriff to beat up. I mean, what? What?
I mean, that's something we want to avoid, really, at this stage.
Going to facetiously suggest that you go punch some trees, but...
Well, look, here's the thing. I got some military training now. I don't know if you're aware of that. But I'd like to scope out the town and see if there's anything out of place since the last time we were here. I'm talking if we're finding out that the Migo have some kind of facility and they might be taking over this town. Maybe after last time we were here, they thought we were scared off, and so now they can be a little bit more bold, a little bit more brash, and moving some of their gear and their equipment out here. Maybe they want to get more of a stronger foothold in the town. Keep an eye out for that.
Not a bad idea. The only other suggestion I had was Agnes Bellwether, Little Cottage. It's a longer trip, so sending Seb out there means that he can't talk to anyone else. You could hop in the car and drive out there.
I think we may want to talk to Agnes together.
All right. Well, let's rally and, we can go to Agnes after we've begun our preliminary investigations.
We're good.
Preliminary.
So where are you planning on parking the car? Where do you first disembark from?
Library, I think.
Okay. The library?
We don't want to leave it, because where we parked the buses was out front of the diner.
That's right. Which is in the center of town.
Did that either now or at the time that we were here last appear to be the place that people from out of town would generally, like, there is sort of like a place for cars to park rather than just pulling up on the side of a street somewhere?
Yeah, I mean, they'd have space for people. It'd be less for out-of-towners, more just locals looking to get a bite, but they would have, an open street wide enough for a couple of vehicles to pull up, and then, maybe behind the back a couple more spots if you needed it. Let's go to the map if you all want to take a look on the thing, and I'll show the viewers as well. And what we'll do, let's just zoom in. Can't see it, my mic's in the way. Do you all have control of your tokens?
Probably.
Should do. They're just up the top. You should be able to move those a boot.
Excellent.
If you want to flag, let's mark where the car's parked. So the library is number 9.
Yep.
No, that's not right. Sorry, I stand corrected. Library is number 2. Sorry, it's just up here. So library is towards the back up here. You could park around the side. Jim's Grill is this one, number 10.
I think the library is great. It's the edge of town. There's a chance we don't get super noticed, although news tends to spread in these places. I think we drive straight up, we park along the side, and I will very happily move my token over to the library. I am afraid I don't have control of it.
Okay, well, you can all get stuff then. It'll be all me. Okay, so the car will mark as being here. Yep. Katie intending to head towards the library. Seb, what's your intent?
My intent is to... I'm just double checking where everything is on the map. Given that we are relatively close to where the doctor is, I will start with the doctor's practice.
Yep.
As the first place, with the intention of heading by the school and wherever the priest happens to be, which actually does make a nice little square. So triangle. So I will wander my way down, taking my time because I still don't walk very fast.
No worries. So you're going to make your way down. And finally, Chaz.
Yeah, so maybe I don't need to be spotted by a huge number of townsfolk at first.
Okay.
So I'd like to go a little bit of a recce, bit of a quiet little poke around the entire town.
Sure.
Case the perimeter.
So
That's
not
a
going
military
inside
term.
as many places, but just getting a read for everything.
Yeah, and looking out to see if there's any big changes to the town itself that have happened since we were last here.
Okay, perfect.
I.e., large brain swapping equipment that have been set up in the town square.
I feel like you should absolutely also, at some point, make sure our best friend, the cannon, is still here.
Yeah, let me get an update on that cannon.
Cannon check. Okay, all right. Cannon check will be high on the list of priorities. Okay. All right. So as you drive winding through town, you'll pass the sheriff's office, the closed Gazette, and Kana's Goods. Circling around the outside, you can see people heading in towards, generally in the direction of the town center, where stalls are being erected and set up, and kids are rushing back and forth. You stick to the outside, and although you are one of the only cars moving, people step away, but you're staying on the perimeter and you don't immediately get eyeballed by anyone. And Katie, you take a read across the town. The general vibe seems to be one of excitement, building towards the coming thing, and it doesn't strike you as malicious in any way. People seem to be setting up goods and things, and it seems to be genuine. There's a lot of bundles towards the back of incoming produce that'll be part of this forthcoming celebration. It's got that feeling of building excitement towards a big party for the next day. A lot of the kids don't really want to go to school. This is probably second or last day for them. And they kind of just want to get towards the day that this festival will happen. That said, you don't eyeball any of the more familiar faces that you've seen. So for the individuals, you're less certain. All right, as you come towards the public library, you park the car just off the side of the track and all head out. Who's going to be carrying the keys, which will have access to the rear, which contains the more heavy firepower? Okay.
I mean, if you're leaving this area, it stands to reason you probably don't want to, especially there's a risk you get arrested and have them confiscated. I'm going to be here. Why don't you give them to me?
Smart.
And can this have been a thought that we had inside the car? Oh, sorry. Steph, did you said seconded? I thought you had it. No. If we had this thought inside the car, or if we have a moment of privacy where I don't have to like obviously telegraph things, I'll say if something happens and I'm not in the library, I'll either be right back or I'm going to stash the keys nearby. So have a look around the car. There'll be somewhere there.
All right.
Okay. All right. Katie pockets the keys. You'll head out and begin to go your separate ways.
I will be like, if you do stash them somewhere, can you make this symbol nearby, and I'll do a rough elder sign, just like a little star, and just be like, just that somewhere near about where it is, or like, you know, on a like way to like scratch into a stone or something, just so like we know what it is. Hopefully anyone who sees it is either going to be like, that's weird, and if any of the creepy people come across it, well, they're hopefully going to be like, oh no, we should leave now.
I read one of the books, so I think I do a little like, I think
you read the book with the elder sign stuff in it. Yeah.
I did, so I know. I didn't study it, but I know enough. So okay, yeah, I'll do that, and then easy.
Okay, awesome. Katie pockets the keys, and you all head out and begin to walk your separate ways. It's cool, there's a chill in the air, but as the day goes over, it will warm up. There's a lot of people on the streets at the moment, as parents are trying to herd their kids towards school, and as people are also just going between homes, the goods store, and the stalls, which are all being erected. People are friendly, talking amongst themselves, but the three of you do stick out, especially Seb and Chaz, who are going to be heading down further into town. You're sticking to the outskirts. Do you want to try and make stealth rolls to stay away from things and just not draw attention, or are you just walking? Katie, you're fine. You're pretty much just going straight in, so
cool.
You're good for the time being, at least.
I have one other question on that note. I'll take it afterwards.
I muted. Sorry, Jackson.
Yeah, that's because I'm so sneaky.
Oh, wow.
Silent. So I would like to stealth.
Okay. Do you want to go ahead and give me a stealth roll?
I got 12 points of luck.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
Of points you just received.
Pretty much.
No one needs to know that I'm here, so let's go with that.
Okay. All right. You are, like you said, it's not like, diving behind bushes and things, but it's just keeping a low profile.
That's it.
You can sort of your jacket's like a dusty green color, and although it's, army issue, it does blend in with some of the other people wearing heavy coats in the region, and you're able to sort of pull up the collars and walk amongst them, staying inside groups of people you're not familiar with and don't just seem to be like farmers who may have come from the wider community into town. There are some new faces around, so you can just kind of move with them, and people will just assume that you're another farmhand or a local. You can even do the thing where you grab a pumpkin from somewhere and just walk about carrying that, so it looks like you're shifting it from one place to another as you begin to canvass the area and take things in. Sebastian, you're not interested in being inconspicuous?
Have you met me?
Yeah. Okay.
I cannot, in as much as
the James Bond approach.
No, pay attention to your enemies, for they are the first to spot your weakness. If people see me, then that tells me something, and the way they react tells me something about how they perceive me and potentially my group. So I'm not obviously trying to draw attention to myself, but I'm also not trying to hide myself, and keeping just kind of a general eye on how people react to a young man who looks like he's just come from a funeral, wandering around during a harvest festival, on the way to a doctor.
Okay, perfect. You begin to stride out, your cane striking the occasional stone as you walk bound south. People give you a berth, mainly just thinking that you are not one of them, and kind of just moving around you. They are whispering. People are definitely talking about you. There's no immediate hey, we were warned for you to come back and we'll get you when you do. It seems to just be people gossiping about your appearance and your demeanor, less so than recognizing you as an individual tied to any grander conspiracy. But you walk down south and then begin to cut along another road to head towards Dr. Perry's office. Finally, Katie, as soon as you disembark from the car, you can head up towards the library, and we'll pick up with you first. Sorry, yeah, you wanted to clarify something?
That's stealth point, quickly. Any chance that we like park the car down the side of the library just so like I can just see it to the edge of town, and the cross is kind of out the front, but is there any convenient spot where it was kind of like, oh, it's not super obvious, or is this kind of the thing like,
as you get to the point, you could just leave it here and assume that people will, and hope that people will think it's someone else's car. Otherwise, towards the back of the library, I mean, this is just, it gets into like off-road territory. You can make a drive auto roll to try and wind it off a little bit and get it towards the rears. But you will need to succeed.
I think I'd rather a quick getaway.
Okay.
So yeah.
All right. It's parked along the side. People did see the car coming in, and again, there are other vehicles in as the wider community comes to Cobb's Corners to celebrate. But
very few of them look that swish.
Yeah.
Yeah,
What kind of car was it?
intentionally
Was it-
the car, it's like a pretty standard automobile. It's not supposed to look, in fact, it's intentionally not supposed to attract attention. It's designed
that's
to
all right
have you
then.
move in. It looks like something you could have rented in the town to the south that you're supposed to be coming from. Whatever it's called, Squirrel
Wilmington.
or something. Wilmington.
I wrote it down
Thank
on
you.
the
So
off
did
chance
I,
that I had to
somewhere.
lie in character.
Yeah, it looks like something you could have rented. And there's a bit of mud on the tires from the trip up, so it doesn't completely stick out. All right, Katie. So as you get out of the car and the others begin to walk down, you can head up towards the library. It's a simple building. It looks to be 2 stories, although one of them is probably a large attic, and the tall windows remind you that the bookshelves inside basically swallow 2 full floors. You need ladders to navigate between them. Even from here, you can see on the inside books just stacked up precariously and just a haphazard no real order to them. There is no one else around here. This doesn't seem to be a particularly popular place for festival celebrations. And there's not even any scarecrows or gourds laid out. It seems to be almost not participating in it. If it was Halloween, they'd have the lights out so no one comes to ask for lollies. You head up towards the doors, and as you walk up them, you're reminded vaguely of the time you and Trent raced one another in an awkward battle to see who can get inside first. And when you get to them, you'll find the door locked. Large, heavy oak ones, but the side has glass windows that, should you decide to start chucking stones, would be a much easier entry.
I'll start by trying to knock on the door.
Okay.
Just see if anyone's going to respond.
It's a heavy thud as you slam against it. And could you please make a listen roll for me?
Absolutely, I will. Apologies while I bring up my character sheet. I
Sorry.
press my ear to the door. Suspense rises as I succeed by check.
Nice. It sounds as though when you hit it, there's a deadened thud, and it sounds as if something's been pushed up against it on the interior.
Oh, that is very interesting. Can I kind of crane my neck through some of those windows and see if I can get a glimpse at what's inside?
Yeah. There's no immediate response. And as you can just now see Chaz moving through a group of people and out of sight, and you've already lost track of Seb moving around towards Perry's. You get back towards the car and begin to try and peek through the windows. There do appear to be lights on inside, but it's hard to see anything with all the bookshelves, all the books stacked up on the interiors. You're only catching glimpses of things as you move in between. Could you make a spot hidden roll for me?
Sure. So lights on inside, but
Yeah.
it's the door's barred.
That's right.
That's a failure on the spot hidden.
You can't see it. There's no angle on it from here. As you just continue to complete a circuit towards the back, there is a second door, a smaller one that would lead to a back area where you remember the older woman, Mabel Carruthers. She may live here or something similar. And a tap on that seems to suggest it's not. It doesn't have the same thing. It's not barred or anything.
Gonna knock on Mabel's door, see if I can get a response there.
You knock on the inside, and there's a period with no response, and then you can hear shuffling feet walking towards you. When it opens, Mabel Carruthers, the librarian, is an old woman, and she's shrunk further in the short time that you've been away. She keeps her hair sort of bundled up behind her, and where previously it was a fairly tight bun, it's now begun to go astray slightly. She wears wire-framed glasses, but you can't help but notice that it looks as though they've been bent at some point and then twisted back into shape. One is kind of slightly lopsided, and they don't really sit perfectly straight on her face. She also has what looks like might be a bruise alongside her chin, which is sort of purpling and welted up a little bit. She comes out, she's got like a nightgown on and a dressing robe pulled up around it. And as soon as the door opens, you get the sense that she's a little confused. She opens it and blinks a little bit in the light and then says, I'm sorry, can I help you?
Hi. Yes, I'm sorry. You run the library here, right? As I gesture and if she turns her head, I'd like to do a quick hairline check if I can spot any kind of surgery marks.
You can see her hair's like bundled up and not as tight now, so it pushes down a little bit. Make a spot hidden roll for me, please.
Coming back up, another spot hidden, and that's a success.
You cannot see any telltale signs of surgery.
Great.
If they're there, they're well hidden. What you do spot though is as she's talking, the door towards the back, like you can see, and she's not like holding it slightly ajar. She's just opened it. You can see inside. There's a small room, which probably goes back further. There's a set of stairs that lead up towards an attic. It looks like, although they don't look frequently used. There's boxes piled up in front of them, just wide enough to get a path up. There's a small kitchen towards the back with curtains drawn. You can see a cot towards the rears. Another door which leads back into the library itself, a much nicer, heavy wooden one, opens. And you see standing in the center is a young girl, maybe 12, 13. You met her previously when she was assisting the librarian. She's dressed in like similar to Seb almost, a black, like thick cotton dress which goes down past her knees, where white stockings have been pulled up and buckled black shoes. She has very dark hair which is completely straight all the way down towards her stomach, and long bangs that go in front of her eyes, behind which you can just make out the white and black or like very dark green maybe pupils as she opens the door and looks across at both of you. What are you saying?
I'm just really wondering if I can get inside the library. I have some really important... hello, I'll wave at her at the back. I know it's an inconvenience, but I can pay. It's a holiday, I know, but I really have some important work I need to get done.
So
it won't be... Yeah.
As you're talking, she says, I'm so sorry. We're closed for the moment. And the girl steps forward towards her and says, go back to bed, grandmother. Just sit down. I'll deal with this. She walks forward. Library's closed for the foreseeable. Get your books somewhere else. And moves to close the door.
I can't pay. I have money. I can pay you to... Can I make a quick persuasion check to see if I can...
As you're saying it, she looks you up and down with a sneer and says, we don't want your money. Go away. And moves to close the door.
Okay.
Do you push this in any way? Do you try and...
No, I don't think so. I go up, but what happens is, I think, if it's all right, my standard idea of every kind of break-in, because Katie has good climb, is try to get up high. So what I might do, if this is even possible, I don't know the structure of that building, but what I might do is go up and have the door shut on me, and then book it. I know if she's there now, so if I can get to the library quicker than her, I might be able to be a bit louder coming in and take a more dangerous, like breaking in route kind of thing.
Where are you heading to? So as soon as the door shuts, you begin to rush round the side, passing a couple of windows. You know there's an attic, presumably, although there's no clear entrance point. What's your strategy?
Yeah, let's go attic. There must be an attic window up there. There's got to be something, or
okay.
even just a vent.
Okay. Looking up towards it, there's no chimney. This house doesn't seem to have a fireplace anywhere inside it. There are windows on the highest level, and possibly you could try and break in through there. This is pretty broad daylight clambering up the thing. You could head around the back, so at least towards the rears, it's farmlands and things. Go ahead and make a climb roll.
Okay.
Yeah, you go ahead and make it.
Hard success.
Okay, nice. You get around towards the side and begin to find your way up a So like a few loose bricks. This is not an easy climb. There's no like, maybe there's like a gut or something that you can begin to move up a little bit, but there's no like trellises or anything. And there's these large windows which are, can't put pressure against or they risk breaking. As you're moving up, you get a foot against it and hoist yourself. So you're now moving up past a lot of the books and things. And at this point, you make out the girl coming back inside and looking out the window to where you just were, and then continuing to move along and looking out each window. You quickly lose sight of her in the stacks, but you're able to hook up and onto
you're
her
saying
thighs.
I dodged getting spotted there.
That's
I guess that hard success was pretty important.
It's worth having. As you get towards the roof, you're now up on these like painted shingles. Looks like they were like, originally just ceramic or something, but they've all been taken to with paint years and years ago. These would have been once quite a garish yellow or something, but a lot of it's flaked and chipped away. From a distance, the aesthetic kind of holds up. From where you are now, it's sort of like it looks sort of moldy black and yellow, and as you move along it, the whole thing's precarious. Anywhere you put your foot, it sort of shifts a little bit and you can hear clinking where they clatter together. You get down low and begin to make your way along the roof. Eventually you will find on the other side there is one of those I don't know what they're called, but like there's
latch
a thing and then there's like a
yeah.
little windowy bit that sticks out, and there'll be the little latched windows on the interior.
Yeah, the way where you play as a sniper in every action game.
That's it. Gable?
Are they gabled windows? I think those are gabled windows, but do not fucking quote me on that. Trying to pull this from
sits at the end of a pitched roof at the side of the house. Yeah, gable window. That works. There's like a couple gabled windows on the inside.
Thank you, The Sims.
These two are caked with dust and grime and don't look as though they've been opened in some time. When you go to sort of pry it ajar, they aren't locked though. There'd be no real reason for them to be. And you can get the latch shifted and push it inside. Slinking down, you drop into the dark attic. Every breath you take in here is like filled with dust, and immediately you begin to feel like a dry mouth. You can faintly make out footsteps underneath, but it's the shuffle of Mabel, not the footsteps of the young girl who seems to move very quietly. As you get down onto the ground, you move through here. It's very hard to make out anything. You can see there's boxes, possibly more books or family possessions gathered all around. And towards the rear, you can see another small cot with space around it where someone presumably lives. Small enough that the young girl might live here.
Right. That's very interesting. I think that I am at least moderately safe up here for the time being. So I would like to very, very quietly start my search in the library by searching the attic. It's very possible that they've got some hidden stuff up here. So I'm going to shut the window ever so carefully. Maybe I leave it just enough so I can kind of slip out quickly. And then I will just start going through boxes one by one like a church mouse.
Okay, great. We'll leave Katie there for the moment as you begin to pry open the first cardboard box and begin to flick through. Yeah, cardboard. Flick through it looking for tomes or anything of interest. Dust everywhere, but a couple of them do seem to have been used semi-regularly, and you can begin your search there. Elsewhere, let's check in on Chaz as you begin to make your circuit through town. Immediately as you walk out, you're surrounded by like other people coming and going. A lot of the farming folk have brought in produce from the region to sell or to give, and a lot of the discussion seems to be talking about this festival that's coming up. You'll quickly pinpoint that, for one thing, the festival begins tomorrow. In the evening will be the first like kickoff events, and then through that night, and then it begins because tomorrow's Friday, so tomorrow Friday evening, and then through the weekend is when things are held. You'll learn that there's games being set up, like I think cornhole or whatever, and things where you toss rings and stuff, all sorts of fun things. And this is a yearly event that they host.
I've just decided that Chaz is a cornhole champion. So if we can get in the cornhole action when the festival starts, that'd be excellent.
Awesome. What's your throw skill?
Heck, that's a good question.
That is the easiest game to turn into.
45.
Pretty good, man.
That's within professional range, right?
Yeah.
What the fuck is cornholes?
I was hoping you'd ask. So you get a board, and you get a hole drilled into it, right? So imagine a board with a hole in it, and then it gets propped up like a ramp.
Oh, got it, yeah.
Yep. So it's like a little ramp
Yeah.
and there's a hole in it, and you
Yeah.
stand 30 feet back or whatever, and you have to throw a bean bag into the hole on the board.
Why is it called corn? Was it like a bag full of corn
Because-
kernels, or did they throw like?
Because traditionally you'd make the bean bag out of corn, out of dried corn husks. There you go.
There you
TIL.
go.
Corn.
Wow.
So you get a bag of corn and you got to put it in the hole. Corn hole.
That was a lot less exciting than what I thought it was, but
I-
also genuinely delightful.
I love how quickly Jackson matched Art's random piece of knowledge with one of his own. We're gonna. Can't wait to have my turn in the limelight.
Because you don't get enough limelight already.
Yeah.
Yeah, Dave.
While we're slightly distracted,
Yeah, go
are
for
there masks at this festival? Is there any opportunity for us to be, like slip one of those on, or any of the kids wearing something that, jack-o'-lantern heads or whatever?
No, it doesn't seem to be a part of it, wearing
Okay.
masks or disguises. Not yet, at least. There's all the disguised straw men. Not disguised, like straw men planted up in dress up. There seems to be like, it's kind of like a put on your Sunday best kind of deal, but with a
Gotcha.
much, not like a dour thing, more like, like white dresses and, blue and white pinstripes and things. Like it's a very like, not colorful so much as just, light.
There is a
and colours
delightful,
get the vibe.
period appropriate word for what I think this is, but I'm not going to say
Creepy?
it on stream. No.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
like lovely, delightful period word. It just doesn't have the best connotations.
Sure. All right. So, as Chaz, you begin to move through, is there anywhere in particular you're going, or do you want to get a read on the whole situation? I know you said like
Yeah,
a full
you
circle.
know-
That will take you a few hours to get all the way around.
That's what I was thinking. I think I want to get see as much of the town as I can. Just like in amongst the activity of setting up for the festival, which all the regular folks will be dealing with, is there because all right, we got experience with certain Migo strategies, and there's a big event coming up. Great, everyone's distracted with that. We're going to do some nefarious shit over here, right?
nonsense.
So I'm looking for that play. So while everyone's setting up for the festival, is there anything untoward happening? Without anyone else's notice.
Okay, great.
I hope that makes sense. I don't know if I've given you enough there.
I understand. Are you looking for wizard nonsense amidst the rest
As
of it?
always.
Yeah.
I assume there will be some to find.
You put your hands into your pockets and begin to walk through the crowds, keeping a low profile and not really being noticed too much. You'll head past the town square first, which is where the bulk of the festival seems to be held. Lots of stalls are being set up, great number of them, dozens, all around the interior with little like red and white canvas roofs. Underneath there are wooden things with boxes stored underneath for the time being. But people begin to put up little like placards for like what they'll be selling or what they'll be showing off. You'll notice that there are no prices given besides things, so selling's not really accurate. It is all free during the festival. It just seems to be like a thing of giving and of sharing.
And of communism.
You've found the dark secret at the heart of it all. Commies. At the center, there is a large platform being erected currently by a bunch of big sweaty men with their shirts off as they sort of hoik things up into the air and hammer down pillars to build the platform around. And it's right in the center around that Civil War statue with the cannon nearby, and a podium is going to be brought up onto that where there'll be like addresses and they'll host things. In the front of that, there's a large open area where you'll learn there'll be dancing and like themed events. But you walk down from there, heading towards Jim's Grill. At this point, you'll see that there are kids now being herded outside and down towards the south towards the school for their last day of classes. The parents have like got kids between their arms and they're swinging them as the kids like chant and sing and talk about all the fun they're going to have coming forward. Inside the grill, you'll spot Jim. Bloke that runs it is at the back cooking and like bringing out plates. His wife doesn't seem to be present, and his son Jason is inside one of the booths as you walk past with a bowl of like cereal or something in front of him pushed back, and he seems to be fast asleep.
Jason was the kid who was drawing the creepy tree pictures.
Yeah,
All right.
that's right.
He's asleep in the middle of the day.
Yeah.
I think I'll file that away, but I think I'd like to get a feel for the entire town before I, start chatting to anyone and announce my presence.
I do. There's also, as you suspected, there's a number of cars parked along here where probably the bulk of people coming into town from afar will place their vehicle and then head out towards elsewhere. Continue going down south and you'll pass or you'll head like towards the school. And at this point, you've been walking for 20, 30 minutes. Cool air, but fast enough a pace to keep your heat up. The school building is this beautiful little white structure with the red roof and the tall steeple and the bell inside, which can be rung for class. And just as you're getting there, the bell begins to ring and kids start filing inside. You see Holly Rydell, the school mum, a young woman with brown hair, dressed in a dress, nice enough that'll probably be similar to what will be worn tomorrow. And she seems to be greeting each child as they come inside very kindly and ushering them all into the interior. She looks across to see that any stragglers find their way inside and then heads in to close the doors. I get the general sense that the kids are jazzed up with excitement. There's a lot of pushing each other. Additionally, it's much fuller than it is usually. I don't know that you ever went inside the school. I think only Sebastian went near there. But it's not big enough to accommodate the entire area. And today there will probably be a lot of kids standing at the back or on temporary seating as they take in the lesson.
Interesting.
From here, you can turn and walk along the south of the town, and you'll pass the large church. No one seems to be around here, and although there is a couple of decorations put up, there'll be a small straw man pointing towards the church. There's not a lot. It seems to be kind of separate from the whole thing. And actually, as you come out, you'll spot the Reverend, a very severe-looking man, dressed as always in his preacher's attire with a thick puckered scar down one eyebrow and thick dark brows furrowed down and not glaring but definitely unimpressed by anything he's seeing. He strides across the lawn with long steps, gets towards the straw man and pulls it out from the stake and just tosses it across and into the street, clearly unwilling to have it on his property. He then whirls about and will head back inside. You can see his wife standing in the small house that attaches to it, watching the event and kind of just shaking her head a little bit, but heading back in, not intervening in any way. From there, it's a lot of houses, and you'll begin walking through just general people and things. Is there anywhere in particular, or again, just a general read for things?
General read for things. Just keep on. Just give me all of it, Dave. Give me all your notes. Just copy and paste.
Okay. At this point, it's a lot of houses and things, and mostly just individual people.
Well, hold on. So far, am I getting the sense that a lot of people have come into town from, the sticks?
Yes, absolutely.
It seems the town is much fuller than it normally is.
Absolutely.
Where are these people staying? Do they stay in? Or are they just here for the day, or are they staying in with other people in houses and such?
Do you want to stop someone and talk to them, or are you trying to listen in on passing conversations? No,
I'm incognito.
You're dark. I mean, incognito. You could just walk in. You present as anyone else. You could just try and say, "G'day, I'm coming in. I've got to drop off this pumpkin somewhere, and I've lost my guy."
That's not bad.
Where's everyone else staying? You guys want to hang out later?
Yeah. All right. Yeah. No, you've convinced me.
Okay.
Let's do a little bit of that.
You find a couple of young farmhands who look like they're kind of unimpressed with the whole affair and aren't really involved with everything. They're standing on the edge of a street corner. One's smoking. They're passing the dart back and forth. They've got a bucket with apples inside it. They're probably supposed to be getting somewhere, but they're taking the moment to have a break intervening. And they seem like the sort of people who are definitely not local. They stand out a little bit, just enough that they'll probably know what's going on, but they're not from here. As one of them takes a drag, you can walk up and address the two of them.
Hey, where's the pumpkin guy at?
The pumpkin guy?
Yeah. I meant to bring this pumpkin to for the decorations. You see anyone like that?
Look around, man. Just probably put it on a doorstep. Unless you got someone specific you're looking for.
I don't know. They called me in last minute just to help set up. Hey, where are you guys from?
We're out at one of the farms. That's where the South's. Weston's farm.
Yeah. Oh,
Do
yeah.
some work around
yeah.
there. First time going to this thing.
Yeah, right. Well, listen, I don't know if I want to, head back home tonight or stay in town. You guys staying in town anywhere?
We're being shacked up at someone's house, I think. A lot of folks are just heading back, and they'll drive in tomorrow morning. Just come in each day as it's needed. No point to stay in town. We're not that far from. But we're getting shacked up. I think a lot of the people have houses they're willing to open up, give you a couch or a bed if you're interested.
Right, yeah, makes sense. All right, well, thanks.
Yeah, hey, no worries. Good luck finding your pumpkin guy, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, if another guy comes down around here asking for a guy with a pumpkin, ugh, we chasing each other all day.
They sort of scoff a little bit, and they treating you a bit like the the local guy, and you're kind of getting into it, whereas they seem pretty happy to just shirk work. So they scoff a little bit and go back to just gossiping amongst themselves.
All right, I don't know if that answered my question. I don't know what my question was, but it was interesting.
That's good.
Chaz is not much of a thinker or a talker, but he's an actor, and that's all that matters.
Okay. This part, you've sort of wound through houses, and you'll be getting back towards the central courtyard. You can see a lot of people setting up. You'll recognize some faces inside here. There's Anne Haggerty from Jim's Grill, who seems to be setting up a quite wide booth. And she's got a single pie, which she's measuring across to figure out how many she'll be able to place there. There will also be Deputy Cutter. The sheriff's deputy and the man with which you had a confrontation or two last time you were here. He's young.
Need not remind me.
He's young. He's probably like 19, 20 or so. Handsome looking youth with very clean, put together appearance. His, similar to yours, his shoes would be shined and his pants would be ironed. He's got his hair pushed back, and he wears a pistol holster at his hip, although it's empty, no weapon inside. He has a badge seated cleanly across his lapel, and from where he's standing, he's like standing with a couple of women who are setting up booths, and he's gossiping just chatting very friendly with them, and they seem to be quite he seems like a nice young man, and they're like talking and laughing a little bit, and he does a bit of like a "oh you," and then turns about and begins to head towards someone else to check in on what's going on. He now heads over towards like the platform where the guys are setting it up, and does a bit of like a blokey, how you going? Oh, using a hammer on this one? That's what I'd do too. He hasn't noticed you as you are staying incognito.
Well, this was my area of main concern, because this is where the people will gather. So I was thinking about returning here and keeping an eye out for anything or anyone suspicious, and I just found it, and it's him. Okay. So Chaz would like to tail the deputy.
Okay.
For the time being.
As you begin to head out, and you'll find a place to like post up or something. You need to move semi-regularly, and although you don't have a full hood up or anything, it's more just like you look a member of the crowd, and you've brushed your hair down a little bit, so it's just not as obvious, and there's nice big pumpkins throwing off any trails. You will need to move every now and then and stay in crowds. As you get up to shift position and head over to possibly listen in on what he's talking about or just keep tabs, a kid tugs on your sleeve, and when you look down, it's got an apple. One of those like wizened older ones that might fall from like a crabapple tree or something, and it's holding it up towards you.
Yeah, kid.
You're not from round here, are you?
No, came in from one of the farms.
Here, have this. It's a gift for before you go.
From who?
From me, from us, from everyone here.
Yeah, all right.
It's
What's
nice.
your name?
Peter.
All right. Thanks, Peter. Have a good festival.
Yeah, you too. Bye. And he skips off towards his friends.
I'm gonna get this apple straight to the lab and check for poison.
Where's the lab?
I don't know. I'll just put it in my pocket and make it to get it to the lab. Check for poison.
Idle thing where you just forget.
The lab is Katie.
His mouth.
Yeah.
And the place is the farmhouse.
Pretty much.
The lab is Joe. I think Joe actually has some chemistry.
That's true.
There you go.
That's true. Okay. You take
And resume tailing the deputy.
you fold it into your pocket and begin to walk around following the deputy. All right, we'll leave Chaz there for the moment on his prowl and check back in on Seb, who heads down towards Dr. Perry's office.
Very quickly. My brain just went, oh, an apple. I wonder if it's bugged. And then just like had the image of a worm sticking its head out of the apple.
Wow, that's genuinely just hilarious.
Well, you know,
Okay,
the, you know, the one thing that's worse than finding a worm in your apple?
Finding Amigo.
Finding half a worm.
Finding half a worm.
Oh, that actually happened to me once, except it was an orange.
You found
and it was
Amigo?
Yes. I found half
Explains
amigo in an
so
orange
much.
that I had already started
Turn your
eating.
head, scar check.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I do actually have quite a large scar on the
Oh,
side of
me
my
too.
face,
My head got open when I was a kid. So if there's ever Amigo things, I had that to begin with.
Yeah.
No one get me.
Same. But if anyone if they start to do like jawline stuff, that ain't pre that.
All right. Seb, as you walk out away from Chaz and Katie and head bound south, you'll go sort of with Chaz for a little bit, but given he's going incognito, he gets away from you a little bit. A lot of the eyes are on you as you walk forward, striking your cane against the occasional stone, and making quite the, not dramatic. Like, it's clearly it's a statement whether you mean it or not. You stand out amongst the others, and very clean and put together, where others are still in sort of work attire for the moment and getting things set up. People are clearly talking about you, whispering and looking, and you'll catch the occasional word like out of town, and like asking, why are they here? But no one steps forward to confront you in any way. Dr. Perry's office?
Correct.
Okay. All right. It'll take a bit of a circuit to head round and get towards there. You will go in the direction of sort of vaguely the grill, so you'll see people gathered around there. But once you start to head towards Perry's office, it's mostly just houses and things around this area, less built up. A lot of them have been decorated, straw men and gourds and similar, and like hung leaves. And Perry's office is the same as the others. It is his home, as well as his surgery, and below there is a sort of temporary mausoleum. But it's been decorated. There's a straw man out the front with like vaguely surgical scrubs and the mask on and everything. And it seems to be like, fairly chipper looking. And there's a small pile of like patterned pumpkins carved with little scratches and things, with quite delicate strokes. Like, it looks like quite nicely decorated to give it a sort of a lattice work look around the outside.
I'd be very surprised if a man who uses scalpels for a living couldn't quite deftly carve a delicate pumpkin design.
Yeah,
That seems
it gotta be similar
reasonable.
skills, right?
Yeah.
100%. As you walk up, you'll spot that one of the windows is open. It leads into like it's in a side area where previously you stashed Higgins when he was having a panic attack, when he had a bundle of explosives underneath his chair, and now it's open. The interior of the white curtains are billowing out slightly, and you can just make out the doctor moving through it, sweeping, and you can hear him humming slightly.
I smile slightly because other people's joy still for now brings Seb some joy, which is healthy, and will also smile in the memory of like less Higgins having a panic attack, but more like, we put him in a bush. We probably shouldn't have put him in a bush. Now that I've got a whole month more of experience, or however long it's been, because it really hasn't been that long.
Yeah.
But just kind of going, oh yeah, I wonder how Higgins is going. I wonder if he's become more desensitized to the killing of men. Find out.
Yeah.
But I will go up and on the door.
From inside you hear, coming, and then footsteps, and then when the door opens, Dr. Owen Perry is standing before you. He's an older man white and grey hair and glasses pushed up his nose. He's dressed in a quite clean suit, although he's taken the jacket off as he's working, and he's still holding like a broom in one hand. And as he opens the door, he is smiling down at you. And he opens the door and goes, "Yes, how can... Mr. McCarthy,
Dr.
It's-
Perry.
been a while. What are you doing back in town?"
Oh, well, we had some additional questions about the folklore and things. A few things that we just wanted to follow up on, given that we had to leave in a bit of a hurry.
Listen, why don't you come inside? I'll fetch us something to drink. As he opens the door for you, and as you recognize who you are, you saw the smile fade away. And he's immediately nervous. He looks over your shoulder to see if there's anyone else there. And when he closes the door, you can hear him mumbling a little bit to himself. And he places the broom, and you can see him just like a nervous tickle. He rubs his hands a little bit, and then sit in here, and I'll just fetch you something to drink. He points you towards the sitting lounge, and then heads back towards the kitchen.
I will head and sit down in a chair. I'm going to not play up, because what Seb plays up is his capabilities, not his lack thereof. So I think Seb is going to let some of the weariness and pain and tiredness of his body just through a little more than he would usually, sort of as a way to diffuse, or to seem as, I guess, unthreatening as possible, for the reason that Seb does not want to make this man unduly uncomfortable.
Sure.
That was never his intent. So he's relying on his sort of affability and charm to sort of get him through, rather than anything else.
You take a seat in a high back chair towards the rear of the room, and the window opens nearby you. You can still hear the people outside in the streets. Most of the children have gone in. You'll just make out now the ringing of the bell as classes begin. People go about their days. After a beat, you'll hear a tea kettle whistle, and then clinking china as Dr. Perry comes back into the room carrying 2 cups and saucers and a tin of biscuits kind of wedged up under the arm. He places them down on a coffee table, and you can see a slight tremor as he puts them down, and he places the tin and gestures at them before saying, "Why don't you close the window too? It's cold, a bit cold." He pulls a chair over and sits close to you so that anything that could be said could be whispered.
Yep.
And then as he goes to sip, you can seem nervous a little.
I will kind of push myself up on my cane to go and close the window as he's requested, and then come and sit back down and just say, "Please be assured, Dr. Barry, I am entirely here of my own volition, and I mean to talk about the folklore in the town, nothing more."
That's how it all began last time, isn't it?
I have a little bit more of an understanding than I did previously, but I don't wish to put you out, Dr. Perry. I had actually hoped to find out where the illustrious Wendell had disappeared to, whether he was on vacation or permanent remove from the town.
Mr. Wendell, the reporter.
I
Yes.
I stopped by the Gazette and noticed the plaque was missing. I just wondered.
Yes. No. As I understand, he left shortly after the storm departed. I haven't seen him since. I just assumed he'd gone to a bigger town to set up. He always pretended he was too big for here anyway. Just imagine he made his own way. Should we be worried?
Oh, Seb thinks about lying and then goes, "I don't know. I hope not. I very much hope not, but I don't know."
He takes his glasses off and seats them on the table and rubs the bridge of his nose before saying, everything was going so smoothly. I just imagined that after the storm, after everything broke, after everyone came back, that it was... I guess I let myself think that maybe it was done and we were moving forward.
Everyone came back, you mean the students, or was there someone else?
The students, and everything just... Everything's going so well. Yeah. Forgive me, Mr. McCarthy, I don't mean to put this on you, but you're something of an ill omen. Seated there all in black.
It's not the first time someone has said that to me, Dr. Perry, and it certainly, I imagine, will not be the last, but please be... I'm not here to try and do harm. I'm merely here to try and understand, and, if possible, actually make sure that this storm breaks and that things are better for everyone. You may not actually believe me, given I only spent a handful of days here, but I actually quite like your town and the people in it. A lot of them seem like decent people, and there's one thing I dislike. It is when decent people don't get the decency that they deserve in return.
At this point, could you please make a charm roll for me? I think it's most suitable. Son of a gun.
Charming as fuck.
I love that, my charm started lower than my persuasion. My persuasion was, like, meant to be my best skill. I think I failed, like, all but one persuasion check, and, like, almost every charm check, touch all the wood, has, like, done pretty well thus far. So Seb is just, like, this charming motherfucker, and I don't know where it comes from.
Charming, sinister, dressed in black. It's great.
Ill omen. Hello.
Sometimes the dice tell their own story.
I love Seb. Seb is, I love him.
Dr. Perry takes a breath and then pushes the biscuits towards you and raises his own glass to his mouth and says, let's have a biscuit. Let's talk. He seats himself down, and although he's definitely still nervous, he does see you as, however brief it was, you were good to him. And you also gave him, you gave his beliefs weight. Like, you listened to him when he was the one talking about some slightly loony things. So, at the very least, you've earned that, at least a discussion. Is there anything in particular you'd like to talk to him about?
The main thing was finding out sort of like what the town knew about Wendell, which I think I have at least some answer of that now. I wouldn't mind, I guess, having sort of just a general discussion with Dr. Perry about the town, about its sort of occupants, what has happened over the last month, on the basis of, I believe you when you say strange things are happening, or strange things did happen, and I would like to try and find a way to make sure that you get the peace that this town of decent people deserves. I don't necessarily want to kind of insinuate that any group of people would be bad, but I also am not trying to hide anything specifically. So if he gets the sense I'm asking more about the deputy than perhaps anyone else, that's on him to make assumptions, but I'm not going to sort of specifically try and hide it, nor am I going to specifically be like, I think the deputy is a bloody, brain swapped nutcase.
Sure.
And I will, again, I'm not attempting to hide any of what I know. At the same time, I am being general. Like, I'm not going to specifically use the term Migo from fucking Pluto or wherever the hell they're meant to be from. It's more like, I do believe there is something odd happening or, unusual, and that has filtered into the town somewhat, and I want to help uncover what that is and send it on its way.
Great. So the first one is general town atmosphere. Since the storm broke, things have gotten better. He remarks that not only did the students return, but also, there's been no more deaths since then. I mentioned when you were here last, there was a strangely high rate of young people dying. Heaven granted, it's stopped. There's been no more. I've not been called out to any farms to find some young child fallen against a scythe. It's been quieter. I have taken on some more work. Mrs. Bellwether's become something of a recluse. As I understand, the last thing she did was deliver Fred and Christine Karna's baby. And since then, she's taken a step back. I have served as I've served to deliver one more child since then, but previously that was her last domain, and she's relinquished that. She hasn't been seen in town much since then, and I hope she's well. I understand the Karnas still send out her a car with food regularly, but she's not been seen here in some time. For your friend, the deputy, he's stepped up as well, as I have. The sheriff has taken ill of late, and much of his responsibilities have fallen on the young man's shoulders. He's lived up to them from what we've seen. He's well liked in town. I've talked with him several times myself, and I've found him to be charming, eloquent, and capable. He's living up to his responsibilities, and I think in time he'll make a fine sheriff himself.
That is, I hope you're right. Is this forgive me, I know you mentioned you hadn't been in town as long as some of the others you studied and then returned. This harvest festival, what last time we were here, we asked about folklore. I obviously have some understanding of the general purpose of harvest festivals for any community, but is there anything special, any traditions of the town with this harvest festival denotes, anything different that you can tell me about it? I'm just curious about the local traditions.
To tell the truth, you'd be better speaking to someone who's lived here longer than I have, and also to tell you the truth, I haven't been much involved in them in the past. This is the only year I've felt really like committing to it. I went to one when I first arrived here, but few since. It's a period of community to come together. As I'm sure you're aware with many of them are, it's a chance for people from the wider Cobb's Corners region throughout Vermont, where this is their place to just stop over to come together, meet, make friends, and share in the bounty of the year. I think it's not so different from many others, although I will admit there is something in the air this year. Makes me feel it will stand out from the others.
There is a certain buzz, isn't there?
There is.
You mentioned that the sheriff had taken ill, which is of course quite unfortunate. Have you been called to see him at all, or is it more of an illness of the mind, less the body?
I met with him briefly. He had abdicated responsibilities for some weeks. People were concerned, and I offered my services, such as they are. I was rebuffed at first, said that he only needed time to get better, but I thought it was important that an appearance be made, and I met with him some 2 weeks ago, I think. The poor man is bedridden. Really, he is old, and for some of us it is only a matter of time. I found him there with a fever, clammy hands, and relatively unwell. I prescribed him rest and some simple medications and offered to check up on him again, but he declined. I hope that this season and possibly the brisker air might revitalize his system and he will find the strength to move again, but otherwise in the coming months I'll speak to him about next steps, possibly sending him away to find a warmer climate or similar.
Well, thank you. It's nice to catch up on all the local information, hear that things have improved, and that the unfortunate passing of young people has at least abated for the time being. Sorry to hear about the sheriff, of course. He seemed like a good man, if a little gruff at times. Given I understand my presence is a little jarring and, well, maybe not wanted, I'll leave you to the rest of your day. I hope you do enjoy it, Doctor. It's been a pleasure.
Oh, forgive me. I didn't mean offense. You caught me by surprise is all. Enjoy the festival. I hope you'll find this place has improved greatly in the previous months, and I've put my own suspicions aside. I hope in the next day or so you'll see that you can put yours aside as well. This is a good place, and a good season is coming. He shakes your hand, and walks you to the door. He makes no mention of your use of the cane, although it's, it'll be apparent at one point that something has happened. He seems to not wish to pry. It could also be interpreted as ruder than that as well, like he is a doctor. It's up to you, I guess, how you want to take it.
I mean, at this point, Seb's had this for probably close to a month, maybe a bit more. It is starting to become part of who he is, so I don't think he necessarily... I think it would be more if the doctor had brought it up, that he still knows he has it. Like, it's still there, but it's sort of not become something that he consciously thinks about as much unless someone points it out, or like there is a good reason to remember it. It's a comforting thing, I think, to some extent, or it is beginning to become so. So I don't think Seb thinks anything of it.
No worries. He walks you to the door, and you step out into the cold. He bids you goodbye and then heads back inside. He doesn't open the window again, and you don't hear any humming as he closes. Where do you wish to head from here? And I will remind all of you that the intent was to still reconvene around lunch-ish. So you can probably head somewhere else and then head in for lunch, and then we'll probably recollect the squad shortly.
The other places I'd wanted to go were the school and the church. I think they're kind of... The school is closer, but it would be...
It's a bit of a hoof, regardless.
But I'm thinking more like the school is currently, until lunchtime, is going to be in class. So it would make more sense for me to go to the church and then try and speak to Miss Rydell, perhaps either after the day or perhaps at lunch, like whenever there is an appropriate break. So let's go church next.
Okay. They're young, so they'll probably break at like 3 p.m. or so, not too long after lunch, you'd imagine. But that is... Yeah, exactly. That's all good. So you'll head across towards the church. It takes a little bit walking through the town. At this point, it's a bit wider. You spot a couple of kids straight up pointing at you and like looking at their parents. And like it's just that very rude child thing of like, "Oi, stranger, what's up with that?"
Yeah, I think
one will come barreling up to you at one point and go, "You're dressed wrong.
Oh,
You're wearing the wrong clothes. Why are you wearing black? No one's died." And it's a little like 8-year-old girl. She looks like a dick.
I said we'll just look down and be like, well, no one here has died, but there are other people in other places. You do know that, right?
Did one of your friends die?
Well, and just sort of smiles and sort of slightly sadly. Also, the Harvest Festival is a time for death and rebirth. That's the point of it. It's,
obviously, but you're wearing the wrong clothes.
I'm wearing my clothes.
Yeah, well, it's still wrong.
You're not incorrect, but you see, there is, and I'll like lean down slightly. I don't care. And just smile.
Do you want to make an intimidation roll? Or are you just
I'm
letting
not
the kid know you don't give a shit?
No, like if anything, I'm trying to like in a little way kind of go, you don't have to do the things that people expect of you,
Yeah.
and sometimes doing your own thing is fun.
Okay.
Like it's actually more of a letting you in on a secret than an intimidation thing at
Okay.
all. You know, like I'm dressed differently because I don't care. You know?
You're down, and the kid says, looks at you and kind of like seems stunned for a moment and says, I do what my mum says, and you should do the same then. Get changed, and rushes off to rejoin her friends.
Seb under a breath will be like, well, given you are not my mother, no. And then just like continues walking. He's just like genuinely delighted by this whole exchange. It is probably, honestly, I actually think Seb's demeanor in town, while he's not letting his guard down, but he does like this place, and he did like the people he met here. I think he is actually enjoying himself. He's loosened up a little bit. You know, kind of knowing that even though what they're here to do is dangerous and difficult and potentially deadly.
All good things.
Yeah, all good things. The reason that they're doing it is there are good people who deserve to be safe from manipulation and hurt and the powers beyond comprehension that good people shouldn't have to face. And Seb also kind of, I think, in that moment realizes that the reason he does face it is because maybe he's not a very good person, and that's okay.
Okay.
And then just keeps walking.
You'll make the rest of your journey relatively unaccosted, and eventually you find yourself nearing the large church. As you approach, there is a single straw man left lying in the road, and nearby there's a small hole where the stake was probably previously driven in. Do you want to walk up and knock at the church, or how do you approach?
Yeah, I will walk. Unless church is in session, I would walk up to the parish and just knock on the front door of the actual house to see if the pastor or the pastor or the reverend. Sorry,
Reverend.
Reverend. I should know this because they're Baptist, aren't they?
Yeah.
Should have known that. Yes, Reverend and or his wife and or his children answer the door.
Okay. All right. You head up towards the door, and as you're approaching, you'll hear raised voices from inside. Do you continue heading up, or do you pause and listen? Or do you make your sound?
I'll pause for a moment and listen. It's less sticky beaking and going, is this a terrible time to knock on the door? And if so, I will give it a beat and then I'll knock. But like, I do want to know what I'm about to walk into.
Okay. Do you want to make a listen roll for me, please?
Sure. Nope.
Okay. You don't hear the exact, but the raised voices are definitely the reverends. You hear yelling, and then the door slams open, and a young man, his son, probably about 13, 14, the same black hair, but like he's growing it long. He doesn't want to listen to his dad. Comes barreling out, and he's grabbing his jacket as he goes. The Reverend is standing in the center, leveling a finger at him, and he's saying, while you're under my house, you will obey my rules. Get back here. And the kid just goes, I'm not listening to you anymore. I'm going out. And he goes down the street and past you. Not shoulder checking or anything, like it's wide enough and you're kind of off to the side a little bit. He just heads off into town. The Reverend yells at him once more to get back here. And his wife, Martha, steps up and just puts a hand on his shoulder. Less restraint and more just kind of, she spotted you, maybe, and just like calms it for a moment. He shrugs it off a little bit and then sees you and just looks at her and says, I'll be inside, and he heads back.
Very good. I will, when either or both of them look at me, I will tip my hat slightly just to, hello.
Yeah.
And then does the wife, does she stay and does she continue to look at me?
Yeah, she'll if you're there, there's not that much around. Also, you stand out, and she recognizes you. You spend the night in the church, blah, blah, blah. She'll close the door behind her. She's got a shawl that she gathers around her, and she steps down towards you. As she approaches, before she even greets you or anything, she just shakes her head somewhat wistfully, I guess, and just says, "Children."
I understand. My parents had very high expectations of me. I was not always the best at living up to them, but for their foibles, they do it out of love. And for all my foibles, I did it because I wanted to feel like I was my own person.
Yes, well, I'm sure they'll be fine. And he'll get older and he'll get more sensible, and perhaps Earl will find in his old age that he can settle down just a bit and find in this place the paradise he sought. I'm surprised to see you back here.
I'm a little surprised to be back here.
Are you here with friends again?
I'm here with a couple of my companions from the last expedition, yeah.
Listen, I hate to be rude, but after everything that happened last time, I'd appreciate it if you kept some quiet distance. Again, I don't mean to push, but Earl is... We had a warning from Dr. Perry some days ago that his pressure, he's tense. Any more stress added to the plate, I'm worried will send him completely over. He needs to relax, and given everything that happened last time, and given what happened in the church, I'm worried you and your friends could be that catalyst.
I understand, and I have no intention to make things more difficult by being around. I genuinely came by to see how you were doing, how the town is doing, to I guess, well, there was a very nasty storm and we left shortly afterwards, and it has been on my mind as to how everyone is doing. So I figured I'd be personable, do the rounds, say hello to the people who were friendly to us last time, and well, here I am. But I certainly don't mean to overstay my welcome.
She turns to stand next to you, and you're both looking up at the church. It's a lot of the windows were broken in the storm, and a lot of the pews removed to board up the things inside when you heard voices on the exterior. But you can see that since then, they've repaired the glass, they've replaced it, and it looks as good as new, as good as it was, if not better even, if you're a fresh coat of paint or two. And she says, things were rough, but things have gotten a lot better in the last few weeks. Things are improving, and even if Earl, the Reverend, can't see it, this community is coming together, and I'm grateful to see that. I just wish he could recognize it as well.
He doesn't see the Harvest Festival as important, I take it.
The children just want to play. People put down their tools and they come together, and although it's a community thing, he sees some level of it as shirking, and he holds to his own. I also hold to them, but his own beliefs, and he does not see this as an appropriate spending of a weekend. It also crosses with Sunday, and he knows that again no one will be in church this weekend. It rubs him the wrong way. I'm sure on the other side of this he'll be fine.
Well, I hope it passes with as little pain and stress as possible. It does seem like a nice festival to have, if a little left of standard godliness. Do you know what specifically the festival represents for the township? If there's anything unique about it, or is it just your standard harvest festival?
As I understand it, it's a chance for people to come together, to share in their bounties from the year, and to grow as a community. It's a chance to send off the last season, invite in the next, and continue the cycle. Growth, renewal, all of that. Can you make a psychology roll, please?
I certainly can. Whether or not I can succeed it is another matter entirely. Dead on. Success.
She seems to be talking about the festival almost like slightly wistfully, and definitely seems to see it in a fairly positive light. When she talks about her husband, the Reverend, you get the sense that she is quite deeply concerned. You get the sense that their marriage is probably fairly strained. Amongst other things, you get the sense that this fight with the boy was not the first. You get the sense that she has probably grown closer to this community than he has, even though he was sent here in some level to lead it and to find retirement or something similar to it here. There's several sticking points. She also looks up towards the house and says she'll need to go back soon. In fact, she probably will begin to say goodbyes.
Yeah, of course. I will just sort of go. I understand the sheriff is a little unwell, and the deputy has stepped up and taken a lot of his responsibilities. How have you found that?
I found him to be a fine young man. He's a good influence on the town. My Jacob looks up to him. It's good that he has a figure that he recognizes, and one that will instill in him good virtues if he won't look to his father just yet. He's a role model to a lot of the children, and we appreciate him for that.
That is good to hear. It's good to hear. Well, I won't keep you any longer. Thank you so much. It's a delight to see you again, and happy Harvest Festival.
She nods, but does not reciprocate. Says her goodbyes and heads back up. At this point, it's drawing close to when you're intending to meet the others for lunch.
In that case, I will, Seb's demeanor does absolutely shift from pleasant and charming and affable to slightly more of narrowed eyes and slightly gritted. Yeah. But more as I was, that thing of going, well, that's all very unpleasant, isn't it? And then we'll begin to make his way back to meet up with everyone, because he knows it's going to take him a little longer than everyone else.
That's
so
exactly
he's going to start doing that now, and then with the intent to head to the church later.
Great. The schoolhouse.
That one.
Easy. All right.
As far as those meetings go, I get the sense there's a distinct possibility both the doctor and the reverend could have just pressing a panic button as soon as they saw you. The doctor close the door, got you inside, close the window. I think he was mega red alert. I'm just putting that out there. I don't like this at all.
Gonna be as someone who is very paranoid about a lot of things, I'm not too concerned about those two interactions.
I don't like it. It's too nice. Things don't go
I
that well
have
for us.
significant concerns about how much everyone likes the deputy.
Yeehaw.
And I have some significant concerns about a bedridden sheriff with a fever and clamminess, which sounds a lot like potential poisoning to me.
Yeah.
So or something to that
Maybe
effect.
he's just a clammy
And Sid
guy.
would know because his mum's a doctor.
I'm sorry. Did I mention that? I don't remember mentioning my mother was a doctor.
So as Chaz and Seb make their way back, I want to step back in with Katie first. Katie, can you give me a spot hidden roll, please, as you just begin to, over time, search through the area on the hunt for...
I thought you might ask me for a library use check.
Well, if you're looking for tomes and if you're looking for specific information in books up here, You could. Like, are you looking for? Do you want to like ask me a question about like the folklore,
I guess
or are you looking for?
I was looking through everything, and then if I found specifically what I was looking for, I guess was books. I was looking through boxes for like hidden books that I think they'd taken off the shelves around circulation, either deliberately or because this is just weird and irrelevant. I had failed the check. Could I get a bonus die for the extra time I'm spending here, or no?
I tell you what, you could. This is quite a large. What you're trying to do is go through a lot of boxes it's a lot of time, but it's a lot of stuff to pass through, so possibly not. But I would say you could absolutely push this roll, and
Risk missing lunch.
Or risk being heard. You're the risk because the thing is you're trying to do this quietly. You can occasionally hear shuffling from underneath, but you're not exactly sure where the girl is. There's always the chance that a box gets bumped and someone's standing at the stairs.
I'm gonna push it.
Yeah, you're champion.
Nice.
I'm gonna push it. You ready? You ready?
Yeah.
Get in trouble.
Yep.
Hard success.
Very nice.
Well done.
Wait, pushing it is
He did a
rolling
bonus.
again.
Same
sorry.
difference.
Yeah. Oh, wait.
It's
Yeah.
Do roll the other one because that might not be a hard. Billy bloody
Okay.
close.
Roll
Here
the
we go.
ones.
Just roll a D10. To
roll.
So, did you take
24,
the
24 effectively.
24.
Okay,
It is
that
a
is a
hard
hard. Well done.
success.
Okay. You begin to go around and you're shifting some of the boxes and things, and occasionally there will be like a light bump, and you pause, freezing, your breath like dry and almost pasty from the dust, but there's no movement from upstairs, and you continue your search. Up here appears to be where the girl sleeps, and you'll find some of her personal effects. She has a small like luggage trunk with some sets of clothing in it, and it all seems a bit sparse. You get the vibe that it's like it's a bit like I've taken in this girl and like given her, so like it's not like a very, the library is supposed to be nice, but this is not like a very nice place to be. It's just kind of a bit sad, really, at the end of the day. So she's got very little. There's a small locket which has a woman holding a baby. You presume it's her, maybe. The woman does not look like the librarian below. Even when she was younger, it looks to be someone else. And it's clearly a prized possession. It's a small silver one. She has it like bundled next to her bedside table. You will also find jammed under the bed towards the back, there is a folded notebook, which is you pull out reefs of paper, like immediately begin to spread a little bit from it. You collect them back together and make sure they stay in their same place. And as you go through them, they all read like teenage love letters, all focused on Deputy John Cutter.
Oh.
And they are all, they vary in intensity from like just, hey, we should hang out more, to like, you are the one, we are bound together, we will be together, and like these and it's not necessarily like, they seem to get more intense over time, but there's a variety of it. It just seems to be a very, very deep focus on the deputy. Towards the back, and then as you're rooting around there, on books, there do seem to be in boxes the wrong books in some of them. Occasionally you'll find, I mean, the layout of the library was chaos as is, but there seem to be boxes quite dusty that have been opened. There are books inside of like vaguely like children's stories, and then jammed into it there will be another book more relevant to like occult adjacent, like
So
even just relevant, and they're not like specific tomes, it's just none of them seem to be mythosy, but they just seem to be about like folklore and stuff, and it looks as though they are getting taken from somewhere else and jammed where they won't get found.
Yeah, that's what I figured. I one of the questions I had was, do they cross-reference with the books that the others were looking for in the Orn library, or do they cross-reference with any of the new information that we have about the Migo largely? You know, when we came through here, we might have spotted this kind of thing and thought nothing of it, but now that we have more to know, is that different?
looking at them, you might recognize it with that. Yes, some of them might be like one for one the same book. Others are just in those same veins. Strangely advanced medical practices, the references to things seen in hills and things. This is a much smaller library. This has nothing on the lawn library, and it's more like, and also it looks as though, and this was not done by an expert librarian. This was done by someone who said, hey, grab everything kind of medically and get rid of that. And she's gone like, okay, and grabbed like a kid's book that seems to be kind of medicine. Get that in there, just maybe that's relevant. Lastly, there's the hard success has one extra thing. As you're getting out, and as you look out the window and you can see, sun, calculate, beep, time for lunch. You're heading towards the window when there's a and hey, that floorboard moves.
Oh my god, no way.
Crouch down and you get your nails under it and you pry it up. Nails come loose, and as you get it back, you find a small space underneath this spot where, as you reach down, your hand feels in the dark, curled around something, and it's a handle.
Can I pull it out very slowly?
You withdraw it and hold it in the sort of like the light that filters through all the dust. What you're holding is a very old looking knife. It's bound in black leather, which is crusted and cracked. The pommel is clearly bone, like a femur joint or something, and the blade itself isn't sharp so much as it is round and pointed and appears to be made from a black goat's horn, sharpened to a point. As soon as you hold it, like a wave of cold dread goes down you. This thing feels sick. It feels gross. It makes you uneasy. It is bad.
I am going to quietly replace the floorboard. I am going to slide it into my satchel, and I am going to make like a tree and climb out of the attic.
Nice. Can you give me, you've done the climber, can you give me a stealth roll?
Here we go. I may be the greatest thief of all time.
Son of a gun. She's only gone and done it. You get back out onto the roof.
I feel like Monkey would have some things to say about that.
I may be the greatest thief Katie's ever met.
I mean, Katie might just be the greatest library thief. Right? She spent her whole life in the library, and it's given her the skills to be a
best book thief of all time. Monkey was absolutely the best lock picker out of the two, but
different deals. You get out onto the roof and click the thing closed behind you. Your evidence, anyone that searches pointedly will find evidence of your disturbance. There will be dust that's been moved. You were opening boxes and things. There's no real way to do it, but it's dark up there, and if people don't think to look, they won't find it. Also, stuff got taken. So
in which case, what I might do is just before I leave, I just walked through it just for the benefit of everyone. Immediately, I was like, oh, what can I actually think that these people might be on our side. I think that taking all these books and hiding them is probably hide them from folks. And it looks like Agnes was injured or something like that. So, no, Agnes, sorry, the librarian.
Mabel Carruthers.
Thank you, Abel. Abel was injured or something. Mabel, pardon me. Mabel was injured. So I was trying to think about just ways to see general chaos. I did for a second think about forging a fake love letter back from the sheriff's deputy, being like, I know everything, but I think that's a terrible idea. So I think I was maybe going to leave a message in under the floorboard. I guess if they figure out that stuff is missing, they're immediately going to know it was us.
It was you.
It was me. Where I came to the door. They'll put two and two together. Not very difficult. If they were and I presume they'll check the knife. Actually, no. I was going to leave a note under the floorboards. I don't think I will.
If they go up there currently, it will not look as though anyone's gone immediately. However, as soon as they potentially notice the knife is gone, a trained eye could pick up the dust being moved around. You put the book back where it was, but it was just things like the boxes hadn't been open in ages. Like if they remember them, they'll be able to put it together. Possibly. You've done a pretty good job. You haven't left anything immediately visible. If they go to look for the knife, though, they might begin to go, oh, did anything else get searched? And yes, someone has had a look around.
Yeah, I'm just gonna leave. I think I'm just gonna.
Okay. All right, you slip out, close the door behind you, and make your way back. As you drop down, you spot the light still on inside, but again, hard to see. Presumably, the girl's in there somewhere. And you begin to make your way across town, the thing clutched in your book bag, and head for the diner. By some stroke of fate, would you believe it or not, you all arrive at the diner at the exact same moment. It is...
If I can be a bit of a dickhead.
Yeah, I'd love it, Jackson.
Did I get anything from tailing?
Oh,
the
yes. Can you give me...
Basically, I'm just thinking there's a lot of stuff happening in the central town. There's going to be a lot of people here. The deputy is here. I know their playbook.
I tell you what, I think it's going to be a stealth roll as you continue to track. I'm not going to give you a bonus dice. So just a straight roll. I know you're coming off the last one, but this is a kind of a different intent.
I agree. And I wish it wasn't the case. But here we go. That's not lockable.
I tell you what, you could push it. If you push it, you risk getting spotted and possibly in a compromising position when you're by yourself or something similar. Alternatively, you can pull the pin on this. You watch him for a while. You are trailing him. You don't think you've been seen, but you're just too far back. I'll give you some information regardless. You followed him, but you won't be close enough to listen in on conversations. You'll be getting like a vibe from the distance, occasionally moving position. You're not getting, right up behind him.
I think I can risk it. I'll let him go.
Okay. You'll follow him for a good chunk of that. You also spent your circuit took a bit of a while, especially moving stealthily. But you'll follow him throughout the area. He seems to be. You get the intent that he is definitely staying around this area the most. It's probably where he'll be. It's also where people are coming up to talk to him. He is like. He seems to be acting like a community figure. You do get the intent that. You get the vibe. There we go. That most people do seem to be fairly fond of him. And he seems to be very well received. He seems to be very popular with the kids. A lot of who come up to him to show him things or like get him to try and get him to play quick games where he does the like when you're in the border of the kids table and the adult table. So like he goes and plays with them for a bit, but it's a bit of like looking at the adults and being like, yeah, we're having fun here, but really, I don't really necessarily. This isn't just me. And he mostly hangs around there. Towards the point when you're heading back to join the others, he will walk bound north. You presume he's heading towards the sheriff's office.
That's all right. If I don't feel like I can tail him safely, is that the impression I'm getting?
That's right. That'd be pushing it.
Yeah. All right, noted.
Okay. All right.
Thank you.
No worries. You head back towards the diner, past the gathered cars rather, and given it's lunchtime, people are beginning to head inside to grab a bite to eat. As soon as you walk in, it does seem a bit more basic. The menu, the board on the back has had lines put through about 80% of the options, and Jim is the only one back there. Fairly like massive like lunch rush because everyone's coming to town, and he seems a bit understaffed. Additionally, Jason is still like lying in the booth. When you guys get in like for early lunch, I'd say like before the bulk of people are going to come inside, Jason's still lying in the booth asleep. And as you guys come in the door, Jim's going to go, Jason, come on, get up. Come over here and help me. Tend to these people and get them a table. Get up and move. And the kid just like rolls him and goes, just let them sit themselves. It's not that hard. Go over there. Menu's on the board. And he like pushes his head back into his elbows to try and sleep. Jim like tries to like toss a balled up napkin at him, but it falls short, and he goes, just help yourselves, take a seat. Let me know if I can get anything for you. He doesn't seem to have like immediately picked you, and he seems busy enough behind the counter to not be assessing super closely. There are a couple other people around. A conversation would be but it's busy enough that if you're quiet, in a side booth, you're probably okay. And you'll notice if anyone else comes in.
How old was Jason again?
13, 14. Yeah, 12 or so. In that range.
Okay. Well, I guess once we all get a seat, can quietly order something, and then I will rally everything I found, share information. I think do a quick update. No, I will.
So, yeah, cool. I immediately want to ask a question about that knife.
Do you want to immediately, like, you reconvene here and you go somewhere else to like super quiet, super private? Like, if you're concerned about being spotted, you could.
I think we probably do eat. We need to eat, and then we have like a hushed conversation. I reckon that our next step is that we go to one last thing, Dave. Can I have brought the car over? So I will have driven down to here. Because that makes sense, right?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah,
Does
that's
it?
fine. Do you want to do that?
It just means that we're more visible.
Gets it closer.
I would have intended to, but I presume this is the kind of thing that we would have spoken about, so that we easily could have maybe.
If the longer the car stays still, the less it'll be noticed. Like if the car moves around the town.
This is something that we discussed last time, then. In which case, I haven't brought the car.
Who's got the lowest luck?
Probably
heck.
me.
I think it's Katie. Katie, can you make a luck roll?
Absolutely. Luck 22. Here we go. 61. Failure.
What do you got for us, Dave?
You don't get the car. You just head straight down. Nothing of
Okay.
nothing of note.
Okay.
I'm sure it's
I
fine.
think that was we didn't discuss it beforehand, so let's see whether or not we actually did discuss it beforehand, and it sounds like no. I'm happy for the car to stay at the library because it gives us somewhere to go to discuss regardless. Also, we need to stay here just long enough to see if Miss Johnson stops by. I don't think it's worthwhile having a long conversation, but if we see her walk in, we can, make eye contact at least and then continue on. Perhaps we give her a little bit longer than half a day to make sure that, she doesn't seem associated with us. But yes, let's get something to eat and then perhaps we can go back to the vehicle and work out what we're doing from there.
I think we go to Bellwether next. Yeah.
I agree.
Okay.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, I think that's the plan. Eat, rendezvous at the car, drive it out to Agnes.
Yes. Well, look, here's the thing. All right, I got my suspicions, as I probably just told you.
Time out. Where are we having these terrifying conversations? Are they happening in the diner, or are we like eating and it's like, we're just doing a quick catch up on like how things generally go, and then we go back to the car and at the car, on the way to Agnes's, we start having the in-depth. You can pull out the knife, all that kind of stuff.
That sounds
Great.
sensible. We'll have.
What we do.
I think if you attempt to start talking about something in the diner, Seb will be like, "This is neither the place nor the time to have this kind of conversation. Let us do that elsewhere, away from prying
The
ear
little,
knives."
the little Dr. Oak message down the bottom of the Pokemon game. It's like there's a time and place for everything.
I'm not even sure if Seb does anything except say Dedrick and just give him a solid
Kicks under the
look for a
table.
hot sec. Yeah.
Alright.
I mean, wow, these fries sure are good. You ever had fries like these? Man, these fries.
Fine.
All right. So you grab a bite to eat. Everything is a bit basic, a bit rushed. When the order comes around, Jim places it in front of you. Again, doesn't necessarily seem to recognize three of you, not immediately. So he's got other people who are tending to. You'll get a very quick sorry. Anne is preparing for the festival tomorrow and needs to make about 1 billion pies and things. So it's just me behind the counter today. Food's fine though. You pay and you can head out to walk towards the car. By this point, Jason has been jabbed up enough to blearily start taking orders and moving around. Sorry.
I was going to say, do we see either Joe come in or Joe walk by, or,
We
is
may
that
decide that next session, perhaps.
Yes. So Joe does make a brief appearance, and you will have pre-established a rudimentary system to just do I'm okay and I'm continuing. She's got muddy boots and things and since she had to do the walk into town. But she walks past you, and you all just share a look of like, let's continue as is, and keep the barrier between the three of you who have been met previously and her who is new in town separate for the time being. And we'll elaborate on that further when Alex returns next session.
Okay.
Okay. You walk up through town, continuing to, not quite have your conversation just yet, and head towards the car. It's still stashed just on the side, and when you get towards it, you can see in the window the girl who, from the notes, and I think I've introduced her previously when you first came in, is Amanda Wells, is the girl in town, looking through the windows at the three of you as you get towards the car.
No.
As in she is. Oh, looking
She's
through the
looking through
windows
the
of the
windows.
library.
She's just looking at you, yeah.
Right, I thought you meant she was looking through the windows of the car, and I was like, that's terrifying.
Yeah.
No,
but
sorry.
also, good on you.
Yeah. No.
Uh,
Board. Get into the car and we'll head off.
Okay.
Well, I'm inclined to get a message back to the base, because, see, the deputy was wandering around that big, the central
Start
square.
driving slowly.
That's where, there's going to be big crowds. And if anything we know about these people, it's like when there's a big event, when there's a big crowd, they might show up and spike the punch and kill a whole bunch of people. So I'm worried that that's what they're planning again. And I'd be concerned about that. And I'm wondering if we should get a message back to home base to see if we can plant someone there to keep an eye on the town square. I mean, I know we said we didn't want to bring a whole force in because that'd be a bit too conspicuous. We might raise too much attention. But what if we just get one or two of the guys back at the farmhouse, come to the town and just post up there just to make sure no one gets hurt?
Coming in could be difficult. The alternative is one of us stays behind. Two of us could go to Agnes and one of us could
maybe.
watch.
I don't want to get spotted though by the deputy. That's the thing. That's where he's spending most of his time. And I didn't like my odds of, going incognito for that long.
Very quickly, I will flag. So we're getting towards where we're going to wrap this session probably, and we'll park it. Next week, Art is not going to be with us, and Alex is. So we should consider the split here. Do you guys want to maybe just have a vaguer discussion? You all get in the car and plot out things, and we might do a swap and
Very good.
injection.
Yeah.
And also, Art, if you want to seed something you're accomplishing.
So I think I have two potentials that Seb could do. Either you can convince Seb to go into town and do the watching. Seb is not particularly good at watching, but he might be able to stand up against a magician / wizard who tries to take him out. The alternative, of course, is you mentioned that knife, which has a black goat horn, which, unless I am mistaken, is related in some way to one of the alternative aliases of Shub-Niggurath. So
Black goat of the forest,
I think
baby.
if you mention that, Seb might be like, give me the knife, and then just like head straight back into the house, and we'll sit down with the tome and start looking through it for that, and then may go wandering in the woods.
Ooh.
Terrible idea. Or,
Bear trap.
that. Oh no, my leg again. I've already got a cane, that's fine.
Oh no, my other leg.
I think Seb is much more likely to want to go and find out what the fuck is up with that knife. For sure. So that's, I think he will agree with Chaz as we should go back to the farmhouse first and maybe let people know what's going on, and then Seb will stay there with the knife and start flicking through stuff that he knows and maybe get himself into a whole bunch of trouble by staring into the beyond.
Well, that's good. How about we drive you a bit of the way and then we divert over to see Bellwether and you hike the rest up, or you
about-
take the car and we can hike, or we just drive you the whole way. I
I did
The
look at
cane
the
in the
cane
woods.
and the bear traps and the fact that I was not there for the setting of any of those, and just is like, if you don't mind, we'll take the car.
Yep, fair enough. All right, that sounds like a good division.
Yeah. Yes, I would like to. Do I get the same incredibly sick feeling from the knife?
Oh yeah, it's uncomfortable, and it's puts you.
Is
hairs
it
on end.
possible that my curiosity somewhat overrides my disgust?
Oh, 100%. It's how you
Good.
interpret it. It definitely has a feeling of revulsion, but how you interact with it is up to you.
Good. In that case, it is disgusting, and I'm fascinated.
Chaz does not get the sick feeling from the knife because it's wizard shit, so he doesn't touch it, doesn't matter.
Clever, sensible way to do things.
Yeah, I'm gonna have some fun finding out what this thing is. Hey,
Oh, yeah.
I might go stab some woodland animals just to find out.
Jesus. What do the three of
That's
you?
a sign, right? That's something you're meant to look out for. That's anyway.
So as the three of you gather in the car and begin to decide, Seb will head back next time. What are the three of you sharing with one another? What is your current, dreams, hopes, theories?
I share everything. I share everything that I found out. I don't think we have enough information to work off anything yet. I think that it's clear that, the broad shape of things looks like the Migo are consolidating power inside the town. Some people are on their side, some people aren't. With this influx of people, it's unlikely that they could have gotten to everybody, but they also have the potential to have brought in reinforcements. So I think our best bet is to try and isolate people. Maybe we can get to talk to the sheriff, that'd be good, but definitely the deputy. Possibly more.
With all of the 2 conversations I had, plus the diary thing with the Amanda Wells and Chaz's observations of the deputy in town, I seriously begin to suspect that he has he either is just a very charming and affable person generally and is using that to his advantage, or there's something else going on there, because if the deputy comes in and goes, as Dave said, go and hide all the medical books, and she's done that, she doesn't have to be in cahoots with the deputy to do what he wants if she's in love with him for another reason. Likewise, it's very easy to get a town of people on side if you have the ability to make them love you, without having to actually manipulate them physically, which Seb, again, Seb spent a bunch of time going, do I go full Machiavelli on this, or do I just stick with a little bit of Machiavelli as a treat? So it is better to be loved than feared if you can. Better to be feared than loved if you cannot be both. But loved is always better than feared, because people will do what you tell them if they love you. That is what I think is going on. I don't necessarily think everyone in the town is brainwashed. I think they love the deputy, and the deputy, as we know, is absolutely on the Migo's side. Or at least he's on something's side, probably the Migo.
And Chaz is utterly convinced, the town is full, over capacity, whole lot of people here. There's gonna be a whole lot of people in that square. Chaz is convinced that they're gonna do the same play at the university, get a whole bunch of people in one spot, and then bad stuff goes down. It's gonna be in that town square, because that's where the deputy was, and it's where the cannon is. So we gotta control that area.
Also, if I know Call of Cthulhu, explosive finales are a thing.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
All right. Good stuff. Okay. All right. So as everyone piles back into the car, to deposit Seb, who will look into this weird goat knife thing, and the preparations for the festival continue. The school bell will ring and the children will be released from class, and we will pick up this session next week as we continue our investigations.
Nice.
Of a time to harvest. Hot diggity dog.
It's getting to that time.
It's getting to that time.
To harvest.
To harvest. All right.
You guys are the worst.
Yeah.
Thank you.
No, sometimes we just outrun.
Hey, Google, set an alarm for harvest.
Okay. Well, thank you all so much for playing, and thank you everyone for watching. I heard that. Friggin' robots, man.
This blend was just slightly slow. I had my finger hovering over it, then I was like, oh, it didn't do it, so I unmuted.
All right. We will be back next week to pick up this scenario. We hope we will see you all then. Goodbye.